Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Grow Leafy. I'm Alicia, and today I have got Ginny with me, and we are going to be talking about some life lessons in the garden and getting a tour of her wonderful garden. So that's what this episode is going to be about today. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and let's get started with this conversation. So I would like to first introduce and share some information about Ginny, and actually we are also friends and neighbors. She's a wonderful neighbor, and we've just had the pleasure of just getting to know each other, and we have a lot of interest in gardening, and she's been a wealth of knowledge in my journey as a gardener. So whenever I have questions, I'm just like, Jenny, what should I do? Jenny, I have a problem. Jenny, do you have any advice? And she's always been there to help me whenever I need that. So I really appreciate that about you, because she's been gardening since age 6 or 7, since she's been a child. So she's been doing this for a very long time. And she has been even growing irises, for hybrid irises, and she has beds full of irises.
I'm up to about 80.
80
varieties.
80.
80 varieties.
80 varieties. And you won a competition.
Yes, I did. I got a blue ribbon. Louisville Area Iris Society. I got Best in Show for single bloom.
For single bloom. So that's amazing, because I know you shared that information, online with people, and I just thought that was just really amazing. You know, she's been doing this for a very long time, so she's knowledgeable and she's winning competitions too. So I'm in good hands in my journey as a gardener. And let's see, what else? Oh, her family. She has 4 kids, 2
ages.
3 boys.
Yes, 3 boys.
Okay.
Daughter's 18.
Okay.
Twins will be 11 this month, the boys. And then my youngest son is 2.5.
2.5 years old.
He's not much help in the garden.
He's not help.
No.
But he likes to eat the food. No, he doesn't help pull weeds or anything like that.
No. No, not the 2-year-old.
But the children do have a lot of fun outside, I would say, in the garden. I've seen them actively involved.
The twins and my oldest planted the majority of this.
Your twins planted
all the corn.
All the corn. Wow.
Maggie,
so this is corn that's behind us, and when we have a tour, because that's the big thing we are going to do, is tour her garden. You will see all of the corn that she has planted this year. So her children do help, and her husband, he's also very gifted with gardening and a lot of the construction, a lot of the building and structures that you will see. Her husband put his handiwork into that. So can you explain, what kind of tea are we drinking?
This is just an Earl Grey made by Bigelow, which is a local company. They've been around for decades.
I didn't know they were local company.
Yes. I think it's like 70 years or something they've been around.
Oh, wow.
And it gets its flavor from bergamot, which is a type of citrus fruit.
Okay. Are you growing any herbs or any teas? Plants that you can use for teas? I
have mint, I have lavender, I have rosemary. I still have the big thyme.
You do?
Yes.
You were able to?
It's still going.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I still have
I
the
love the
big
big thyme.
I've got lemon balm and lemon verbena.
Okay.
Lots of stuff.
Very nice. We're going to have tea another day, Jenny. So, the question that I had also was, how long have you been gardening? So you have been gardening since your earlier years. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think the first time I remember gardening,
the rooster, they're up. Your babies are up.
Yeah. When I first remember having a garden, it was like my mom was like, we're gardening this year. And she planted a whole field of corn.
Woo!
And she used,
it was a different kind of fly.
Yeah. She planted a whole field of corn, and we used all the newspaper we could find.
Okay.
And put that down, so kind of like the black paper that we have down.
Okay.
And then we weighted it down with like grass clippings, so we didn't have to weed.
Oh.
And I remember this very clearly.
Because of the grass clip?
Yeah.
Because the cover.
Yeah, the
that you
ground
put
cover.
on the ground. Right.
So ground cover important.
Mhm.
And we had all this corn, and it was amazing. And she thought, okay, let's do 1 pack of zucchini. And she did 7 mounds, which she put 7 plants in, and they all made zucchini. And we had over 400 zucchini that year.
400.
400. And we were
What did
looking up recipes. And
400?
over 400. And we would like shred them and freeze them. We used some to make like zucchini bread for literally years. Zucchini fritters. like,
Wow.
everything. And we would also sneak zucchini on people's doors.
So you were as gifts too for others.
It was more like a ding dong dash.
That's a love. Oh, they didn't know.
Nope.
Oh, surprise. Here's zucchini. That's wonderful. So, oh, well, that's wonderful. So you've been gardening a very long time. Great memories. And then here you are still doing it. I try to get my daughter to garden and she's like, no. So any tips on how I can get our children involved in that, in gardening? I don't think I've got her bought in yet. You share your excitement.
I share my excitement and how important it is. Like, learning how to grow food is just so vitally important to being human, being connected to your food source.
Yes.
Like knowing what is nourishing you and being aware of that. And I try to be extremely aware of what is nourishing my children.
Okay.
We aren't vegetarian, but I know the farmers who make the animals that we consume. Like I know them, I know their practices, I know what they feed them.
Okay.
I know all the practices and that's as conscious as I can be about being not vegetarian.
Right.
Because I have horrible ethics concerns about other meat production, but like just nourishing them mentally and having them understand it's nourishing them physically. Then I started very young with Maggie and the boys, where it was just like, this is, and I would use it in their own terms. So with Maggie, it was like, I'm going to give you these carrots, which will give you sparkling eyes like Cinderella.
Oh, you put a twist on that.
You put it in their terms.
In their terms and their perspective, so they would understand, the importance and how it applies to them.
Exactly. Or with the boys, it was
and that
superhero food.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it's like putting it in their terms. Not trying to use, these phytochemicals are going to ensure you don't have cancer when you're older. More like, this is going to make you strong and run fast and your eyes will work better and you'll have x-ray vision, things like that.
Okay.
And then applying that to here, the better the food, the stronger you'll be.
Okay. So making it if you're wanting to engage your family or maybe even friends or even people in the community, making it very applicable to the groups of people that you are trying to educate on the importance of gardening, the importance of living a healthier lifestyle, the importance of being more cognitive of what foods you're putting into your body, whether it's you're vegetarian or you're not, just being more conscious of what you're putting in, where it's coming from, being more informed on that so that you're making better choices for yourself. So you have more control of that, I think, ultimately, and making better decisions for yourself that rather than someone else making it for you and you do not know at all. I love that pointer. Because I do want us to get to the tour of your garden, and maybe we might hold off on maybe some of the life lessons. I'm going to kind of blend it into maybe our tour, and so remember some of those. I want you to think about some life lessons that you've learned from gardening. But what I do want to ask you is, fall's coming up and we need to make preparations for that. Some people just think that gardening is just for the summer. I know I thought that it was just for the summer, and then when I started gardening, I heard about people preparing for the fall. I heard about succession planting, and all of that is new for me. And so I heard that you're preparing already, and it's just the beginning of July.
Yes.
So what are some things that you are preparing for your fall garden?
I'm going to do a lot of brassicas. Anything in DNA wise, they're all the same. Cabbage,
Okay.
Brussels sprouts, kale, they're all the same plant.
Okay. I'm glad you explained what brassicas are, because that terminology, I would say, is not a common term that the average person uses, but gardeners understand that term.
Yeah.
So that's what brassicas are.
Anything that's really crunchy and it smells like sulfur when you
Like
oil it.
Okay.
That's probably a brassica. And so I've got a bunch of those that I'm going to do, because it takes about 6 months from seed to head for a cabbage. It takes time, and so starting in July, transplanting in August, I'll probably have cabbage in November.
Wow.
And they're very tolerant of cold. They're more tolerant because you don't have cabbage moths. Cabbage moths don't like it cold.
I'm dealing with that now.
Right.
Oh, it's horrible.
Now is not the
Terrible.
time for brassicas.
Right.
I'm going to do tatsoi,
Yes.
which is
Oh,
a
that was
Chinese
lovely.
green. It's just that big, beautiful green. It almost looks like a flower. If it gets hot, it kind of curls up. If it gets cold, it flattens out.
Okay.
And you can have snow on those things, and they still survive.
Through the winter. Okay.
They're gorgeous. Kale does the same thing. I've had kale in the snow. There's certain lettuces you can do that'll go all the way into the snow. I'm going to do a lot of root vegetables, carrots, beets. Carrots are about ready to get sown.
Okay.
Beets, I'm going to wait another month and a half. And then those will be ready late September, early November.
Okay.
And then I'm going to probably start peas again at the end of next month,
Okay.
because peas love cold.
Okay.
Right now, you put a pea out there, it's just going to die.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I know I need to get started with that. I'll probably be reaching out to you. But I plan on getting started with some trays maybe on my patio, so I don't have to do much hardening off. Maybe on my patio, maybe indoors. I don't know. But I'm going to get started with a few things, because I also garden indoors as well. So it's a lot to manage at the same time.
And we also have a life.
And we have
we
life,
also
children, yes, right. Yeah. So, but I need to get started with something. I'm going to keep it very simple. So, all right. Well, thank you for sharing that information and that knowledge. We are going to make a transition right now to tour the garden.
This is fennel, and I don't even plant it to really eat it. I plant it to attract pollinators.
Oh.
Because swallowtails will use this for their larvae in order to make more. So I do this part of my garden is just simply to attract more pollinators. But the first lesson I learned through gardening was observation. Being observant about every little thing that you see. So like this one here is fainting. You see how it's just like being really dramatic. It just needs water, like it needs a little bit of water, or maybe it got too much water, but it's stressed out. And learning by looking. And these guys, you can see these holes. And you see these crunchy leaves over here.
So what's going on with that, with the crunchy leaves and the holes?
All of these guys are upset because they've had Japanese beetles coming in. So these are all Japanese beetle munching.
Okay.
The reason they're all powdery is because I put diatomaceous earth on them, and that's why we don't see any of the beetles right now.
Okay.
Because I put the stuff out and it's kept them away. So we attract the guys that we want with the bright colored flowers and with things they want to lay their eggs on. We attract those pollinators, but keep the ones we don't want away with just a little bit of magic. But it's just observing what your garden is telling you. Observing through just whatever signs it'll give you. Observation is number one.
Observation. Okay. you really have to pay attention to, you have to watch and observe and pay. What happens if you do not observe and pay attention to your
Plants get eaten. Your plants get eaten. They fail.
They fail.
And sometimes, I mean, plants have been existing longer than we have. Like, they'll figure it out or they won't.
Eventually.
Either they're supposed to be where they are or they aren't.
Okay.
Like, they'll figure themselves out eventually. But if you want to really make your garden do what you want it to do, you have to look and listen to what it's telling you it needs, and then try to provide that.
Got it. Very great life lesson. Let's talk about first, actually, how many beds do you have?
10?
Yeah, if there's a way to possibly just get a view of, just a quick view, overall view, and just, but that's a lot of beds. So you have 10 beds.
10 beds.
And then
corn.
field of corn.
Corn, squash, melons. And throughout everything, I always sneak these guys. I always sneak some
Marigolds.
And what I do to keep having more marigolds is I'll deadhead them.
Explain that. What do you mean to keep having more?
So these are all seeds. And so to make more marigolds,
Yes.
I just kind of throw them everywhere.
That's what you do?
Yeah. I just throw them in each bed.
Hmm.
And that's how I ended up with so many marigolds. But that's
wow.
because there's a lot of different bugs that do not like marigolds, and squirrels hate marigolds. So the beds I have good marigold activity have very low squirrel
activity.
Mm-hmm.
Great pointers.
And they give us their seeds very freely. Whenever you find a dead one.
So whenever you see dead ones, because I know I have a bunch of dead ones. Not sure what I
was yours while you were gone.
Yay! When I went on vacation, she helped. Thank you for doing that.
Well, if you look here, here's where one over here I deadheaded, and that's one that just grew up. It's a volunteer.
Wow.
Volunteers are the best. Those are your free plants. See, there's more over here. These two.
And these are also great pollinators too.
Oh,
yeah. As well.
Anything orange, yellow, pink, red.
Okay,
It's
bright
going
colors.
to bring all your pollinators to the yard.
Okay.
Another thing that keeps squirrels from hanging out are these guys, like the onions, any kind of allium, so onions and garlic. And this one is kind of puny. I may just leave him there to just stay, because he's keeping all the things I don't want to get at my plants out. So this has been neat. This garlic's been an experiment this year.
It's been an experiment. In what way?
I put these in the ground in October last year.
Oh wow.
And I would have thought it would have done something more spectacular by now, but it hasn't.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
But it is, it's just an experiment.
Experiments are good. Experiment a lot. You learn from experiments. You learn from mistakes. You know, that's what advice I give. You learn from your mistakes and experiments, and it makes you better, and you grow knowledge and wisdom, I think, more even as a gardener. And that's just even in life, with life lessons in general. So experiments are great.
If I look at it like an experiment and not as something that I'm trying to cultivate, I feel less disappointed if it doesn't turn out right.
Got it.
Like, I'm not depending on this for my garlic for the rest of the year.
Got it.
But I'm learning about garlic.
Right.
You know, this isn't like, it's not doing spectacular, but it's not doing bad. It's not doing any harm.
And your tomatoes. You have how many different varieties of tomatoes I see? You have that in the same bed.
This is an accidental guy. This was supposed to be Aroma. This is a Sun Gold cherry tomato. I've got 9 Roma. These guys are Romas, and they're just really thick, dense. They're great for pastes, for salsas, for any kind of cooking tomato. So if you're looking to do passata or spaghetti sauce or salsas, anything that you need like a good tomatoey flavor, you want the big, thick Roma varieties. These guys are good for just eating. They store really well. I keep little containers, like over the winter when I buy the little plastic container of something out at the grocery store. I'll keep those containers, and then when these guys start going, I put them in there and like give them to friends.
Got it.
And keep them around and just keep reusing them.
I love walking around the garden and just eating the cherry tomatoes and the currant tomatoes off the plant. So
And let's see, these guys are my slicer tomatoes up in this next bed.
slicer tomatoes.
We've got brandywine. We've got marvelous. Look at that.
Oh wow.
Big guys. I put cayenne all over them because I'm not losing these suckers to the squirrels. So they're careful if you touch them because they might got cayenne on them.
Cayenne pepper. Okay.
This
that's
one
what
I
she
bought
sprinkled on.
for the name alone. His name is Mr. Stripey.
Mr. Stripey.
Mr. Stripey. And this one is a black creme. So these guys are going to get, I think I might have an actual pound tomato this year, which I'm really excited about. I want a big slice of tomato on toast.
Oh, nice. I love that.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here with. The
And I
aromas
actually-
are utilitarian. These are purely joy.
And I love the green tomatoes too, what you can do with them
yeah.
as well. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, yeah. My grandmother and her roommate at her assisted living facility.
Yes.
Her roommate said, I was talking about how all my tomatoes are still green, and she said, I haven't had a green tomato in years. And I'm like, give me a week.
In years. Wow.
And I went back the next week and I brought them the fried green tomatoes, and I had two
Yes.
happy 90-year-old ladies. It was
Oh, that's wonderful. See, bringing joy to their hearts.
oh yeah, it was so good.
And I know that meant a lot to them.
Yes. It's just the little things.
the
Spoil them when you
little
can. It's always good to spoil. Learning, teaching.
These are beautiful.
These guys are eggplants. These guys, this is my kale. My son Jacob has, for almost unknown reasons, loved kale since he was little. Like, I want to say 2 years old.
Really?
Like, we
Interesting. 2
went
years
to-
old, he's like kale?
we went to the Olive Garden, and they had that zuppa Toscana thing with the potatoes and the kale.
Yes.
He ate 2 bowls of that as a 2-year-old with a spoon,
Oh, yes.
feeding himself
Wow.
because he loved it so much. And so to get him interested and excited in gardening, I've always grown kale. This is also covered with diatomaceous earth so that we don't have any of those cabbage moths come after them.
And the leaves, the foliage looks beautiful. I'm not seeing any
This is a
holes or anything like
Lasitano.
that. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
This one, it's a
Have you
flatter.
and you've been harvesting this.
Yeah. You just eat them, and it keeps going. It'll probably go up to here before I'm done with it. My first garden as an adult, in my very first house, I had gotten a whole flat of vegetable starts from like Home Depot, and I dug up a plot, I would say maybe the size of this bed. Dug it up, planted everything in there. Full shade, everything died.
Oh.
Far away from a water source, no
Oh,
planning,
no.
nothing. And it,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was like, looking back at it, I was
Yes.
like, man,
Yes.
what a ding dong. But I kept trying.
Yes.
So then I was like, okay, let's go where I can get some sun. So I got just a little planter, like a big planter, and I put in a bunch of herbs, like basil, things like that, and like a little tomato plant.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, I wanted to do big,
Right.
but that wasn't time. It wasn't that season.
Okay.
And then I brought it back. It's like, let's do it small. And so that was one of my big teaching moments to me. It's like, okay,
So there's a life lesson here, then. And what is that driving point of a life lesson?
keep trying, keep learning. And when you are learning, be ready to be teaching.
Okay.
Because if you're gonna
teaching
and
to
that's
others,
where you are. That's where you are. You
yes.
are learning and you are teaching.
Yes.
It's like you are there at the front line, and that is
learning and teaching.
Like that's how you internalize it. That's how you make it mean something.
Right.
Like my failure here,
yes,
meant something to me. So I teach that to my kids.
Right. Right.
And like teaching. Failure is okay. Failure is good.
Yes.
Failure is just.
But we have such a hard time in in our society dealing with failure. We feel like if we fail at something, it's over. We lose hope. We give up.
Yeah.
As a counselor, that's what I primarily do. I'm a social worker as well. I'm always coaching and working with kids and with people about pushing through, perseverance, even if you fail. What are the lessons learned? You just keep going, and you will get stronger. Actually, you learn lessons from your failure.
Yes.
And then you hopefully try to not repeat those same mistakes again.
Just to keep learning. It's just a continual process. But the teaching and the learning, like, especially here, like my little Jakey, like he just rips them out of the garden and I'll eat them.
Yes.
I've got pictures of him at like 6 doing that.
Wow.
So cute. So cute. But yeah.
So, all right. So let's, I'd love to take a look over here. So you've got more tomatoes.
Got tomatoes.
and
These are potatoes. This is
potatoes.
a total, like, I don't got nothing to do with this bed.
Okay.
I just kept throwing compost in here.
Okay.
And then I was like, I really want potatoes. I'm like, where am I going to put them? Because we want to do a big potato bed over there. But here, I was like, there was, who is it? Roots and Refuge. She says, turn your waiting room into a classroom. And so I took my waiting room here because this is going to get fully.
Waiting room.
I'm trying to waiting room into a classroom.
Turn your waiting room into a classroom.
Because this isn't
elaborate
ready.
on that.
This isn't ready. This has so much eggshells, banana peels, other random stuff at the bottom. I put like 3 bags of just good soil that I got from the Getting Place, and like I just put the potatoes on top of it and I covered it up with mulch and leaves, and I have potatoes. So this was going to be something. I'm like, no, I'm not planting this yet. I'm not planting this yet. This is
and
waiting.
Then look at this.
And then I'm like, let's see what we can do.
So I'm planting potatoes for the first time this year, and I'm not sure of when it's time to harvest. I don't know when it's time to pull them. I have no idea. And so I've been reading. So can you explain to our viewers on that? Like, how do you know when it's time to pick them?
It's not time.
How many days does it take? Is it 100 days?
No.
How long is this?
It doesn't. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't
But
tell
it's
you
not
without Googling.
time.
It's not time now. They're flowering. They're still extremely green. Once they start dying back, that's when you're gonna start doing that. But they're like, these are happy.
And the dying back is the leaves turn yellow. And
leaves
all
turn
that
yellow.
good
They
stuff.
start getting a little brittle.
Okay.
Yeah, they start looking sickly. Then you start looking at it.
Okay.
But you want the soil to be as loose as possible. That's why I just threw mulch and leaves on top.
And look what happened.
And we have potatoes. This poor guy, he's probably dying. I might yank him.
So yeah, the rest of the beds here, I'm seeing more.
These are
tomatoes.
These are my intentional cherry tomatoes. That was my accidental cherry tomatoes.
And
This
then
guy's more of the Romas. More volunteers.
and then are these
These are squash. Yeah.
squash plants?
These guys are volunteers.
These are all volunteers?
These 2 tomato plants are volunteers.
Wow.
They just showed up.
Mm-hmm.
This plant here, this big old onion here, you look at this guy. He taught me
Wow.
the big one, patience.
The big lesson.
The big one, patience.
That is beautiful. Is that ready
It could be.
to harvest?
It could be.
So patience.
Patience, because I wanted to pull everything. Like, I was like, it is June, and the calendar says since I planted these in September, it's time to pull them in June.
Right.
Except they're all, pull this guy.
Okay.
They all look like this.
They all look like that. Mm-hmm.
They all look like that.
That's how mine typically look.
And I mean, Google tells me, one, they need more K. What is it? NPK. You need more on the K side to get a good root.
Okay.
So I've been giving everything heavy nitrogen,
Okay.
heavy phosphorus. And this needs the opposite of that. Like the tomatoes need the heavy nitrogen.
Right.
The onions do not. But these are
Okay.
doing a great job of scaring away the squirrels. So we're friends.
And you can harvest the chives.
Yeah.
You can have chives still.
But
But-
it wasn't time. And
But you have to be patient. That's how you ended up with that. And I see another onion growing.
yeah. And I'm just, this one I'm probably going to replant here in a sec and just let it go for a year. Because it's not about my clock.
Okay.
This onion has its own clock. I don't control that clock.
So you just pull that up. So you can go ahead and just replant it and then let it go
Yeah,
for longer until it is time.
Right.
So gardening, it's not our time. It's not based on our time or any kind of guidelines. It's patience, watching, observing, paying attention, and learning from your mistakes and being patient. And that's something I need to work on. I know is patience. Yes, patience. But we all can learn from patience.
There's a song by my very favorite artist, Gilberto Gil. Roughly translates to, it's tempore, which is God's time.
Yeah.
And it roughly comes about and says, I'm not, there's no illusion for me. I know that everything is just the way it has been, and this is the way it should be, and everything will go in its own time. And you just have to allow the garden to have its own time.
Absolutely.
Like, the garden has taught me my schedule is not the actual schedule. It's not my schedule. This is somebody else's clock. This is their calendar, not mine. So you have to listen to it.
That's amazing. Well, I would love to see the corn, because last year you did not have corn here, and I've been able to watch you develop this whole property here with the garden, just seeing, and it's been just beautiful watching this whole process. I can't wait to see the corn. If you can give us a tour of that.
Corn is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
I intentionally planted the sunflowers here, one, to attract pollinators, two, to attract not pollinators, leaf hoppers, anything else that would eat on my lovely corn here. And it's kind of like the tank of the whole party. Like, it takes the damage. That's what they're here for, is to attract all those pests and keep them from getting everybody else in the garden. The corn, I've been trying to do corn for years. Last time I really successfully did corn was back when my mom did the garden when I was like 6 or 7.
But this looks successful to me.
Well, I modeled it after her garden.
Okay.
We're putting the shade, or putting the thing down. I tried some at my old house. We just didn't have enough room. The soil wasn't right. So I just kept collecting seeds. So this is like 5 different varieties of corn.
Oh my goodness.
Most of it's atomic orange. There's some glass gem. There's some strawberry popcorn little guys. This one is a white dent corn. And I initially thought that it was a GMO. And I asked it, so I found a whole bunch of corn in like a courtyard next to a restaurant. And I was like, oh look, free corn. So I just took it, saved it for a rainy day. And not like they would have been able to use it because it hit the ground. But I thought it was a GMO because I didn't see any tassels or anything growing on it. And now, Now it's the most successful,
Oh, wow.
beautiful monster in the garden. Like, they're like almost 8 feet tall.
Wow, they are. And they grew very quickly over the past couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, there's monsters. I was
Yes.
like, oh
Yeah.
no, I planted a stupid GMO that's not going to do anything but take up nutrients. I was so mad. And then it's just like, no, psych.
Right, right. What would you say is the simplest corn for a beginner to start out with?
No,
would you
corn is
recommend?
simple.
Okay.
Corn is
Okay.
not simple.
It's not simple?
It's a lie.
Okay.
Unless you have a good amount of space, they've got to be close to each other.
Okay.
I'm having trouble with the big guys because the tassel that's on the top, you want to get the pollen from there and get it to the little silks on the bottom. So you want to be able to try and help hand pollinate.
Okay.
Or they have to be close enough to where the wind blows
and
it's going to
naturally-
self-pollinate, or you get enough pollinators in the yard. So I'm hoping the sunflowers have attracted enough pollinators.
Okay.
But if you don't get them pollinated right, you end up with not a lot of corn.
If you can somehow get a view of just this whole area, but how many plants are here for corn?
We dug 200 and something holes.
If we can get a view of the
Yeah, we planted about 200.
200.
I think we've got about 150.
150. Wow.
We'll see what happens.
Look how tall that one is.
That one's
Amazing.
my favorite. Isn't it ridiculous?
That's amazing.
I came out one day, I'm like, why are you taller than me? Because all these little guys, these are the atomic oranges. I've got some of them in my hand. Like, these are all this bright orange.
Let's take a look at these seeds here. So those are the seeds.
Those are the atomic orange. So all these little guys, they're supposed to be between 3 to 5 feet tall. They get about 2 ears each.
Okay.
They've got some great colors on them. It's a neat plant. This is a heritage variety.
Well, thank you for showing this. This is wonderful, and to see how much it's grown. From the last time that I visited, it's just yes, because the corn was this high. So, but yes, thank you. Anything else about the corn? Just keep trying.
Just keep trying. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be good. You just have to keep trying, and eventually something will happen.
Something will happen. So, well, thank you
Thank you.
for showing me this. Okay.